Vandersloot gives it up. Parker to tie. You bet. Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cavs. Finds Rose. Rose trying to get open. Fires away. Bang! It's over. The Bulls win at the buzzer. DeRozan to win it! Goal! DeMar DeRozan delivers! Anderson hits it in the air to right. Back at the wall, and the White Sox win it! Fake one way, Fields stumbling. Trying to cut it back. Justin Fields making magic happen. There goes Fields. Touchdown! Who will receive it first after it is hoisted by the captain? Will it be the 40-year-old defenseman who has longed for this moment? Yes, sir. Walking right, Chicago!
Woo! What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Hughes, and you are listening to what is normally Mike on the mic, but we are back, and we are better than ever, like we never left. Skytown basketball is back. We're talking everything WNBA. I'm really excited about it. Media Day was today. Had to go do some other things that really just, it killed me. I couldn't be there because I didn't get to see some of my favorite people. But we're joined by one of the newest forwards of the Chicago Sky today. We're going to be bringing her on very quickly. But I did want to say very quickly, because it's very important, that you can go now on Chicago Sky's website and buy your tickets today and see these amazing women play in person every single home game. We got a new stretch of games this year, 40 games this season, 20 at home. I'm really excited about, or I'm sorry, 19 at home, one's in Canada. That's a whole different conversation for a different day. But we're joined today by the lovely UC Davis's finest, Morgan Bertsch. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we had a great media day earlier today, so now I'm just excited to come on here and talk to you a little bit.
Now, breaking into it really quick before we get into your background and just everything about you. First media day experience with the Sky.
Right.
1 out of 10 out of all your media day experiences. How would you rate this one?
Honestly, like, it was about as seamless as I've had as in terms of media days. So, like, on my scale, it was a 10 because it was so efficient. I knew exactly where I was supposed to go. I literally had no problem. It was, like, so quick and easy. So, of all the media days I've been to, honestly, it gets a 10 because the efficiency was just, like, spot on.
And that's one of those things I always felt like, just with the Sky in general. I mean, Carly and everybody else just makes it so smooth. I mean, they're bringing you, they have breakfast, they have drinks, they have snacks. I mean, it's just like, I mean, no one else in the league could ever. But I wanted to touch base with you, just getting into it for everybody that doesn't know you. Talk about where you grew up and just like that dynamic. I know, obviously, the California girl in you. I know hooping's very important out there out west. They take it very seriously. Yeah. What really got you into basketball growing up?
Well, I come from very much a basketball family. My grandpa played basketball when he was in college at Laverne down in Southern California. So that definitely ran in that side of the family. And then my mom played college basketball at UC Santa Barbara for a bit as well. And then my sister played at UC San Diego. So, yeah, I mean, basketball definitely runs in the family. Growing up, you know, I started playing when my sister started playing. So I was only about 5 years old when I started. But yeah, I mean, it was very much like on the weekends, like always in the gym because I was watching my sister's games and then I had my own games. And yeah, just, you know, at the park with my grandpa shooting hoops outside of his house. So yeah, we were very much a basketball family growing up. And yeah, that's basically why I started, was just because of the influence of my family.
See, I love that, but then I always have to turn it into this very next follow-up question because it splits some hairs very easily.
Okay.
Athlete of the family, best athlete in the family, and
Yeah.
you can say yourself if you choose to, who would you
You know?
say is the best athlete in the entire family?
You know, me and my sister actually recently had this conversation because I'm like, come on, I'm the professional athlete of the family. Like, how could I not be the most athletic? But it's kind of like I'm very much a specialized athlete. Like, I'm good at basketball and I was a good, like, pretty good track athlete. I was a high jumper.
Mhm.
But I'm not the kind of athlete that can then like jump into a different sport and be really good.
Right.
Like, I'm like absolute like soccer, terrible.
Oh man.
Like terrible. Anything that requires any other kind of like foot-eye coordination, hand-eye, for some reason, I'm just like really good at basketball and that's about it. So she's much more of the kind that can, you know, jump into different sports and more of just like the running. She's a much better runner than I am. So I don't know. I got a little bit more bounce. I got, you know, the jumping genes for sure, but you know, she I will give her that she's a pretty good like running all around athlete. So
See,
I
but
don't know.
like
That was a tough one. Yeah.
we love our runners though. That's me 110%. Like I'm not great at anything specifically, but I was always one of the fastest. You just throw me in there, whatever I got to do, just as long as it's running, I got it. But definitely for you, I mean, looking at it for what it was, and I watched, man, I remember watching your stuff probably since like I think your last year at UC Davis. I really like started getting
Wow.
into it, and that's where
Okay.
I do all right. I do all right. I was on the Kelsey Plum wave back then though, so I was kind of like
Fair.
all my
Honestly, who
attention was,
wasn't?
man. I was a Husky for life back then,
Yeah.
but man, just watching you really do your thing. I mean, all-time leading scorer doing it. Talk about the draft, because for me, and I don't want to bounce around all the way. Obviously, we're gonna break down high school and all that,
Yeah.
but what always gets my attention is to this day the all-time leading scorer, and then gets drafted 29th overall. Can you talk about draft day as a whole? Obviously, going to the Dallas Wings and
Mhm.
just what that experience was like for you. Did you see yourself going that low, or did you expect yourself going a little higher?
I didn't expect myself to get drafted at all.
Crazy, crazy.
No, absolutely not. No, that wasn't even on my radar. Like I mean, I had a couple of teammates who were like, "You're totally gonna get drafted," and I was always like, "You're crazy," you know. Like it's Big West, you know, and I don't want to like downgrade the Big West, but
Mhm.
there's so many like amazing conferences that it's hard to come from a mid-major conference like that and be able to perform in the WNBA. Like it's a completely different you have to have a completely different mindset. And, you know, we played against a lot of those big time conferences, especially in the Pac 12. We had a few Pac 12 games, and I would do really well against them. Like, I had no problem scoring, but I wasn't nearly as efficient because
Mhm.
now I'm going against taller, stronger, more athletic post players. But I still was able to score. So on draft night, no, I had absolutely no expectations that my name was going to get called. So I mean, my coaches invited me over to their house, and I came with a couple of my teammates, my senior class, and we sat down and we watched it. But like, I very much did not have expectations. Like even my agent was like, honestly, it's going to be a toss up. Like I'm not sure what it's going to look like.
Mhm.
And I had gone to the draft combine at the Final Four, and so I had met some of the other people that were like trying to put their name out there. And my agent had said that was like a great way to get exposure for me. And so yeah, I mean on draft night I was just sitting on the couch like watching the names go by. I wasn't really paying that much attention. Like I was just like, okay, next, 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 whatever. And then like it was at a commercial break and I got a text from my agent that was just like, congratulations. And that was it. And I was like, what happened? You know, like I don't see anything on the screen. And then my coaches' phones were blowing up, and then once it came back from commercial break, it was like, while we were away, you know, these were the next three draft picks, and obviously I think I was what 29 to the Dallas
Mhm.
Wings. So yeah, I to answer your question, I absolutely had no expectations of even getting drafted on draft night. It was never a part of my expectation of my what my life plan was up until that moment. Like it was not at all expected.
No, for sure. And you talked about college a little bit, and really just doing your thing over there. And I was curious to obviously 2015 to 2019, really just breaking that down. I think I got my years right on that one.
Yeah.
Breaking that down for it. Really, what ultimately made you want to go to UC Davis? Because I know there's so many different options out there, but what was it ultimately for you that made you want to do that?
Well, quite honestly, I didn't have any other options.
Hmm.
When I got out of college, I mean, when I got out of high school, I had only one Division I offer. So yeah, I had a couple of D2s that would say they would take me if I came to the school. But I was honestly mainly looking at being a track athlete. I was one of the best high jumpers in the state. Had like, I don't know, the top 3 height in the nation at one point as a high jumper. So I was mainly gonna go be a high jumper. I was talking to Stanford. I was prepping to take the ACT again and all this stuff. So and then Davis actually saw, like, they got a highlight reel from someone, and that person happened to be playing against me. And so the only reason they saw me was because I was in the background of someone else's highlight reel.
Right.
And so once they saw that, they did a little bit more research and started recruiting me heavily. But I was actually talking to the track coach at Davis first. And actually, no, I was talking to the basketball team first, but the track coach I had reached out to, and he was like, "We want to get you out on a visit. When can you come?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm coming to Davis on an official visit for basketball in like 3 days." So then when I came on my visit, I met with the basketball coaches and the track coach as well. And I just absolutely loved it. I mean, when I got there, it's like such a beautiful town. It's such an amazing little university town. The girls were amazing. My coaches, my basketball coaches, like, I loved them. And so honestly, like, the fact that it was my only offer, what didn't like bother me at all, because it was the most amazing offer.
Right.
Right? Like, it was absolutely perfect and everything that I wanted. And so it was like, wow, I'm not like a huge like believing in fate and things like that, but like honestly, it was like, this is where I was meant to go.
Right.
And it was like so obvious. So yeah, so then I ended up at Davis. I competed in basketball and track for 4 years. So I
See,
did
like,
both.
I love it. I love it. See, and that's,
Yeah.
I think that's really something that a lot of people don't really take into consideration. I feel like there's a lot of like, and not to say it's the wrong mentality, the Kobe Mamba mentality is everything, but when you kind of like look at it as a snub to only have one offer. And then there's guys like me who played baseball all 4 years, and my only offer was a JUCO team in the middle of Iowa. And I'm like, I would have, just one would have been nice. I would have just appreciated it. So like the fact that you took that and really just made that into what it was, made the best out of
Yeah.
it, I feel like was the best situation for you. But really diving deep into who you are, obviously WNBA player wasn't even a conversation on draft
Mhm.
night apparently. So what was the major? What was the plan
Yeah.
after college basketball?
Right. Well, so what was really important when I was trying to decide where I wanted to go. Obviously, I was trying to decide between basketball and track, and I was going to go with track, even though I loved basketball more, but I had more opportunities in
Mhm.
track. So that was also something that made Davis so appealing, was that I could do both. And like, basketball was my one love. Like, that was my, like, I like track and I enjoy it, but basketball is like absolutely what I wanted to do.
Right.
So it didn't really like appeal as much to me, the idea of like, okay, Stanford's an amazing school, and like, why wouldn't you want to be in the Pac-12, but like, I want to play basketball. And so that was a big thing. But also, like, school is super important to me. I was growing up, it was always, you're a student before you're an athlete. And I was really, really focused on school, and I knew that at some point in my life, basketball is not going to be an option anymore, and I'm going to have to have a degree and have a quote unquote real 9 to 5 type of job. And so it was really important to me to go to a high education school as well, which also Davis is one of the top public school universities
Come
in
on, Morgan.
the
Tell him,
nation.
Morgan. Tell him.
Yeah, I think it's like top 5.
Come
So
on, top 5.
I think so. As in terms of public school, I could be getting my numbers wrong, but I'll have them up a little bit. So yeah, so I actually majored in biomedical engineering.
Mhm.
So that was my major when I was there, and it was really tough. I mean, it's a tough major to finish in 4 years, but thankfully I redshirted my first year at Davis, and so I could have 5 years to finish it. So
Mhm.
that was super important. Super helpful to have that extra year. And yeah, so I have my biomedical engineering degree. because I was doing basketball and track, I didn't actually have very much time to like dive into internships and kind of explore it a whole lot. I would have loved to do that, but obviously, you know, you only have so much time. And you know, I had those priorities, but yeah, so I mean, after this is all said and done, I really don't know what I'll end up doing with the degree. But it's a pretty good degree to have in your back pocket, you know, when all is said and done. So yeah, I can't answer fully what I would be doing if not for basketball, but I got something nice to fall back on, so hopefully I can you know, work on figuring that out in the next couple of years.
I think the my favorite part about that is like, so I did EMT school, and I think if, you know, if this didn't work out, then I'd probably go try to be a paramedic
Yeah.
somewhere, go do
Mhm.
something. But I love the bridge gap. You know, they're gonna be like, okay, so since you graduated, where
What
what
have
have
you
you been up
done?
to? It's like, oh, I was a professional
Exactly.
basketball player, and it's like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
oh,
a little worrying because it's not like
right,
in industry and like how much have you been learning
right.
about engineering while you've been away? Like not a whole lot. So I'll kind of have to. I've thought about like doing like more classes, and
Mhm,
it's kind of hard the idea of going back to school, like grad school or anything, because I can't do it in person. And
right.
I mean, a lot of the engineering like grad schools, unless you're doing coding, you kind of have to be there to be doing all these interactive stuff. So we'll see. I think I will need to do some more classes just to kind of like stay up on it and stay
Mhm.
up. It's especially with engineering, it's such a progressing field. You know, it's evolving every single year. So the longer that you're away from it, the more it's changing. And if you don't change with it, then you're gonna fall behind. So I
Just
definitely need to
hitting
get on that. So thanks for that reminder.
just hitting the facts. I gotta send this to like every Chicago public school. Morgan's out here telling you, hey man, go to college, get your degree, all
Get
of
your
this
degree, because basketball
backup
won't be
plans.
there all the time. It won't be there.
100%. 100%. But, you know, I do want to touch base on you on, you know, just some personal questions about college
Mhm.
basketball as a whole, especially women's college basketball.
Mhm.
As of late, I mean, the last time I remember there ever being serious hype about two competitors in women's basketball in college was obviously Sue and Diana. And now
Mhm.
Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. I was
Yeah.
wondering how you feel about just like that dynamic as a whole. Were you watching the Final Four? Were you watching everything that went down?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't be, honestly. Like, it was such an exciting series. I mean, such an exciting tournament. And I think that it really did a service to women's basketball of just getting people watching, getting people to notice. You know, it brings a little bit of attitude, a little bit of personality to the women's side that
Mhm.
I think only helps it, you know. As much as it can get talked about, I think is the better. And it was, I mean, obviously the drama and all that kind of stuff, but I think it was also very good basketball. It was exciting basketball to watch, and I think that that's the kind of basketball that needs to be highlighted in the women's on the women's side, because that's how you bring in new fans. That's how you get the publicity. That's how you kind of grow the base a little bit more. And the more that you can do that, the more fans you can get. I mean, just the bigger the game's going to grow overall in both the NCAA, the college level, and also hopefully in the WNBA level.
100%. And I think now we're even starting to see, I'm terrified for what this next season is going to look like for LSU.
Right?
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
I'm
some
not
big,
even going to get
big
into it.
teams now. Yeah.
Man, I mean, they just got a super team going on, and Angel
Yeah.
Reese I saw she got the NIL deal. She's whipping
Oh, all of them.
Mercedes. She's whipping
Mhm.
everything. I mean, I couldn't be more happy for her. I felt like, and not to make it into like a whole different thing, but there was so much wrong with, I felt like, the reactions to everybody. Like personally, myself, first and foremost, I'm a very strong believer in, if the person that it happened to doesn't care, then you shouldn't either.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very big on that. Like Caitlin Clark took that to the chin. Obviously, everything that went with losing and Angel Reese's responses, Caitlin understood it. Caitlin understood it. Caitlin understood this is, you know, like she didn't do it first, and that was her signature move. So, you know, I felt like, you know, it's great to see Angel Reese kind of start, you know, that drawback is now finally showing respect, and everybody's kind of just like understanding, like maybe there was a little bit of an overreaction, because I see Steph Curry going like this every other night, and, you know,
Yeah.
LeBron James going crazy, and everybody else, and we praise it. And then, you know, women athletes do it, and oh, you need to,
Mhm.
you know, be professional. This is a job. And I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, it is, but like, what
Yeah,
are
no.
we here for first? You know what I mean? Like, we're here to hoop, we're here to have fun, and
Mhm.
that's really what it came down to. So it was just an amazing tournament, nonetheless. I always love hyping it up, just having another reason to talk about it.
Right.
But right now, for you, I really want to just talk about like from 2019, obviously, get waived from the Wings, which is a blessing in disguise because we're not trash talking other organizations over here, but
Yeah, we
I mean,
don't. Yeah. Okay.
it's
Things where we're at.
it's been going on over there for a little bit. But yeah, really just getting that into that, just talking about what overseas was like for you, Belgium. I think I read it right. You played for the Kangaroos.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah.
okay. I've never spelled kangaroo in my life, and
Yeah, it's not that though.
I was
In
like,
English, no. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure there's
You
just
were
two
second
O's.
guessing yourself a bit, huh?
I was like,
Yeah.
man, how am I gonna say this? And I used Google Translate, and that didn't help at all. And I was just like, all
Yeah.
right, well, we'll just rock
Fair,
it.
fair.
But what was that experience like for you overseas? And ultimately, you talked about it, getting the degree. You already had everything established. You were ready to rock and roll, doing whatever you wanted to do. What ultimately made you say, I'm gonna go overseas and see what's going on over there?
Yeah, well, I mean, my original plan before even getting drafted was that I wanted to play overseas for at least a year or two, just because traveling was something that I really enjoyed doing. I had done when I was a kid, and, I came from a family who traveled a lot. So to me, traveling has been something that's like such a learning experience, as well as just, yeah, just really enlightening and a way that you can grow. So it was always my plan to go overseas, but I did not expect it was going to be like a long-term career, quite honestly. So after I got drafted, it turned into less of a I just want to travel and see the world, and more of a okay, let's see where I can take this, and like let's see how far I can go. And so when I was trying to decide where to go my first year, um, I was trying to find a balance between a really really good league, somewhere where I feel like I could get better, and also I don't know. I think that was just my number one priority. Was just like, okay, if I want to play in the WNBA, I need to find a league that is going to challenge me. So my first year, I went to Russia, and so I kind of sacrificed the location, the travel, the fun side of it to put myself in the best position to be playing against the best talent in the world, and hopefully, prove that I can play with WNBA against WNBA players. Um, Obviously, I got signed again to Dallas after that year in Russia, but because of COVID, they had no training camp, so I got cut without even a training camp after that year. Um, the next year, I just wanted to get out of Russia, quite honestly.
Man,
I was not a huge fan, I won't lie.
yeah, I don't know, Morgan. I've heard very similar things from other players in the league.
Yeah,
It's not the greatest.
it's a tough place to play. I won't lie, I won't sugarcoat it. I have a hard time. So my next season, I wanted to keep a similar like. My goal was still to try and get back to the W, so I wanted to keep in a strong league. So I went to Poland my second year, um, and had a really successful season. Had a really good season. Had some great numbers, and so then I got signed to Connecticut. Went to Connecticut, and it just didn't work out. I just think as an individual, wasn't ready. Connecticut had their own things that they were doing as well, but
Mhm.
for me as an individual, like when I showed up to camp, I mentally was not prepared. Because I don't know. I just don't think that I was in the right mindset. Camp is a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing because it's basically a prolonged tryout.
Mhm.
So mentally, you have to be really strong, and you have to kind of have short-term memory, of after every mistake. So yeah, so my next year I went then to Poland again, but to the EuroLeague team in Poland. So now I had kind of set myself up to be on the EuroLeague stage, be playing against these WNBA players overseas, and also the best international talent are on the EuroLeague teams as well. So in that season, I think I grew a lot of just like, I think honestly, mainly defensively, because now all of a sudden you're playing against the best offensive talent in the world for the most part. So I had to learn quick, and it wasn't a super successful season. I had some ups and downs. It was just not the greatest of seasons for me as an individual. I still got a contract to go to Dallas for training camp. But I arrived and I actually got an infection in my leg and I had to be in the hospital for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Been there.
yeah. So that was my training camp experience last year.
Mm.
And so then this last year I was trying to decide what I wanted to do for my 4th year, and I mean the goal has still been to try and get back to the W. So I again, was like, okay, I'm gonna go to a EuroLeague team, and I'm gonna continue to play against the best competition, prove that I deserve at least a shot in some kind of training camp. And I had a really successful season. I was 3rd in EuroLeague scoring this year. We won the Belgian Cup, the Belgian Championship, won a few games in EuroLeague. So it was a super successful season, and I think that my confidence bloomed really, really a lot this season. And I just got so much better at just so many different aspects of my game. So I think that this season was just huge for me. And so, yeah, that's the entire long story of my overseas adventures so far.
Love it. I love it. But, I do think that's the beauty of where you ended up. And I also, first of all, I applaud you for taking all 3 experiences with Dallas. It's not a shot at Dallas, but for me, it's just like you keep going back and forth and back and forth. I'm sure that was exhausting mentally and physically for you. But, you end up with the Chicago Sky, who obviously head coach and general manager, James Wade, probably one of my favorite people to talk to because he terrifies me probably about 85% of the time I'm talking to him, especially after a loss. I mean, it's just terrifying. I don't even want to talk to him. I'm just like, hey, James. But in all seriousness, like really just praising him on what he continues to do for the women overseas. I mean, Rebecca Gardner, being 30 years old as a rookie, not really getting those opportunities, killing it at UCLA, doing everything she did, coming in and now going into year 2, there's defensive player of the year talks. I mean, everybody's screaming Bex. There's little kids with her jerseys, really just giving her those opportunities. So you ending up here, I just feel like, it's all, I mean, it's not even trying to be corny, but like the ball's in your court. Cause I mean, there's just so many great opportunities you can have with this team. But I do want to talk a little bit of a Sky basketball with you on what those conversations were like with James Wade and when those really started happening. Cause I know he's traveling all the time, especially after the season's over. This man's going from France to Italy, like in a span of like 3 days. So what were those conversations like and how quickly were you on his radar?
My main contact to coming to Chicago was actually Ann Waters.
Really?
Yeah, so she's Belgian, right? So she has contacts with my head coach in Belgium, and she also has been teammates with some of my teammates that I had this last year. So I would say she was probably the one who was just getting the most information, trying to gather as much as she could from my coach about my character, my skills, my abilities, even talking with some of my teammates to see how I was as a teammate, things like that. So she was, I think, more of the main contact for that. And obviously I very much appreciate how much, she did her due diligence for sure in trying to figure out whether or not I would be a good fit. So I'll definitely give her props for that. And obviously I appreciate my Belgian friends over there that put in a good word with her.
Oh man, that could have went sideways so quick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I mean. That's the importance of being like a good teammate, though, and like being and having that whole networking side of just like you never know, what kind of opportunities can present themselves based on your interactions with people, and I think that that's something that people forget sometimes.
For sure. And looking at that, really breaking down what this season means to you. And there's no expectations. Not like I'm not gonna say, oh, we're winning a championship this year. Chicago Sky basketball is back. But for you, Morgan, what is your expectations outside of just obviously, just breaking out of camp? It's like that's
right.
something
Yeah,
that I think
that's number one is just making the roster is like
right.
is the first and foremost goal, because obviously I have yet to do that. It's been challenging for me, every year I've had some kind of challenge, whether it be myself holding myself back, or I mean being in the hospital for a week last year also didn't help. So
Right.
yeah, I mean that's first and foremost is just breaking out of camp, making it on that final roster. But I don't know, for myself, I think that I've just had that goal of making the roster that I quite honestly haven't thought that much about what to do after that.
Mhm.
So I'm sure once we approach that, topic a little bit more, I'll kind of be able to set better goals for myself on what, I don't know, this season can look like for me. But I mean, at this point, the little that I've thought about it is just trying to contribute as best as I can to this team. Um, Basically, stepping into any role that they need from me, because I can recognize that my role overseas on these different teams is very different than what my role would be in the WNBA.
Mhm.
I know we have these star players, Courtney and Kalia and stuff. It's like we need other like role players as well to support our stars, right? So I have absolutely no problem being that role player, being the spark off the bench, coming, giving energy, having some nice plays, a good block, a steal, just playing all around solid defense, and coming in and maybe hitting a shot, having a good move, a nice assist to one of my teammates. Like, I have absolutely no problem filling any role that this team needs from me. And yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I would fit so well. I don't have an ego that needs to be stroked. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just honestly so happy to have this opportunity. And obviously, if I do end up making the roster, I'm just so excited to just be in the W and to just be able to experience that I have no expectations for myself. I'm just gonna do the best that I can and do whatever I can to make this team better.
See, and I think that's exactly what this team has been the last several years under James. And I think, I mean, if you listen to the post game press conferences with him, I mean, it is not there is no starting five and there is no bench unit. He sees it as one. And I think that's
Mhm.
really, I think Azure Stevens was the key part of that last year, where, he was so defensive for her, and he came to her defense all the time saying, she's not just a bench option. She is a huge part of this team. And I think he views everybody from top to bottom the same exact way. And I think that's a big part of what you're talking about, is just the overall mentality is it's next woman up. We're going to be doing what we're doing. And, whoever wants that opportunity can take it. They just have to
Mhm.
make it theirs. So I think that's really one of the most important things right now. But I think everybody's putting this expectation on right now. And I want to ask you about it, because I heard James say something about it the other day. Basically, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. James, of course, didn't say this, but it's fuck whatever Vegas is doing, fuck whatever New York is doing. We're focusing on us. And
Mhm.
I've heard him reiterate that, it's really just that, and I called it the Derrick Rose, why not me type of mentality, where
Mhm.
it's like, obviously everybody's talking about it. The super teams, which
Mhm.
everyone's acting like that's brand new. And, a year ago, we literally didn't just have, CP and Ka and Sloot and Allie and everybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah.
Emma, I mean, I miss Emma so much. But, really looking at that for what it is, how has that been for you so far? How tough has camp been? And what is he trying to put in everybody's head about this team?
Right. Well, I think that one of the things that's been like kind of a reoccurring theme throughout camp is just like the idea that we are stronger like this together, and we're stronger as a sum of our parts than each person as an individual. And
Mhm.
so of course we have some amazing players on the team, but I think that something that's going to make us stronger than other teams is how well we are able to be a unit. And that when you have these super teams, sometimes people want to be, each person wants to be a superstar, right?
Right.
Every person wants to be the star on that team. And you have a lot of different characters, a lot of, honestly, like all stars, right? If you put that many all stars together, sometimes it just doesn't really mesh super well. So I think I mean, not saying that those teams are going to be like that, but I
Right.
think that's something that can be to our strength, is how well we can mesh together as a unit and how strong we can be, the sum of our parts. And I think that something that's going to be important for us is just how gritty we can be, like how, especially on the defensive end, is like, how can we get stops against some of the best players in the world? And how do we do that together as a unit? And I think the grit aspect is going to be huge. Are we getting uh, these rebounds? Are we getting second chance opportunities? Are we getting different tips and deflections and just kind of being all around annoying to these players? So I think that that's something that is gonna be something that we're gonna have to do in order to, you know, be successful in this league, is just come out every night with the same energy, the same grit to like get things done.
And I think, I think it's safe to say, at least me personally, I think if I was James Wade watching this right now, I think Morgan's made the team, because that's what this team I think is all on the same page with. I mean, I've seen what Bex has been able to do, what Ka's been able to do. I mean, hell, I hated Courtney with a passion in the playoffs last year because of that specific reason. She's just everywhere I don't want her to be, like everywhere at the same time, and it pisses me off. But now I love it. It's like, okay, this is awesome. You know, it's like Dennis Rodman joining the Bulls. It's like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with this guy anymore.
Exactly.
But breaking that down, first I have to ask you, we have a couple more questions before we let you go. Half court shot. Obviously, it's tradition. Have you made one yet in practice?
No.
Oh,
We haven't shot a huge amount. I will be fair.
I saw Kayana made one. I saw Kayana
but I
made
only
one.
got to shoot one time, whereas like some other people got to shoot 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
So I've only had one shot. I've missed it. But I will say that like notoriously half court shots are not really my thing. So
Okay.
I don't think we can be anticipating too many of those throughout the season. Who knows? Maybe I'll start practicing and we'll get a little bit better. Now that there's like, you know, all this hype and money on the line, maybe I'll have to like improve a little bit.
Man, I saw Wade pull it out. I don't know how much it was, but I saw him pull it out right at the sleeve. I was like, okay.
Wait a second.
But
yeah.
no, the only
need to get in the
one,
gym.
man, the only one I've seen in game, because I don't even want to be near James Wade if that happens in game. But I think Dana made one last year in game that was pretty crazy, like on a buzzer beater. But we definitely I'm gonna have you on again, and we're gonna talk about it throughout the season, because we gotta. I'm gonna be on the Instagram scrolling up every day, waiting to see Morgan's half court shot.
Okay.
100%. But last one before we let you go. So far, man, who's really been there for you on the team that's really kind of just either taken you under their wing or just you've been able to pick the brain of the most?
Well, I think I know like Izzy and E are both like new to Chicago, but I think just being able to see veteran players like that and the way that they're approaching a new experience as well, I think is also helpful. And yeah, and just I mean, anytime you get veterans like that you can watch and learn from is like such a huge advantage. And I think that sometimes people forget that you don't just learn from your coaches, you can learn from your teammates as well. So being able to watch them has been super great, and you know they've been super friendly as well and just really welcoming. And I think also Ka has just been like a great leader as well, and you know she's pulled me aside a couple of times and we've had a chat about stuff. So I think just knowing that you have players that are behind you, and some big time players at that you know support you and see that you deserve to be here, is like such a huge confidence boost, and such a, you know, it really reaffirms that, you know, you deserve to be here and this isn't some kind of fluke. Like you're a baller, and you know you can really succeed here. So I've definitely really appreciated that from her. And so just all around, the entire team has just been so supportive and so welcoming. And I know there's a lot of new people, but I think we're getting along really well already so far. And it's only been, what, I don't even know, like a week. It seems like it's been like so long.
It's been a minute.
It's only been like what, a week and change. So yeah, so I'm really excited to kind of see what this group can do, because it really feels like we have a lot of great characters on the team, and that it can really turn into something great.
For sure. And the last one, because I totally forgot to even bring it up, obviously get the win over the Fever. Aaliyah Boston. I kind of wanted to pick your brain on that one, kind of just seeing her presence, kind of just being around that. I got a chance to talk to her on draft night, and she just seems like one of the most humble individuals I've ever met. I mean, just like, and it's not a shot, but then I interviewed Diamond right after, and she's like Hollywood, and I'm just like, whoa, like in a good way, not in a negative way, but like, you know, she's like she's crazy, like she's wild. But Boston is just like the most humble individual I think I've ever spoken to, but when she's out there, she's disgusting. So what was that like for you, kind of just going up against that kind of talent in one of your first games?
Right. I mean, I don't know her as an individual, but I would 100% agree with you and everything that you said. I feel like every media interaction, teammate interaction that I've seen from her is just her being such a genuine human being, and being the definition of an amazing teammate. So I definitely appreciate that about her, and I think that that's going to be one of her strengths, you know, as as she approaches, this professional career that she's going to have, it's going to be a long, successful one. And I think that that's part of the reason that she's going to be so successful, is just being a good teammate makes you a good leader, and just makes it easier for people to want to support you. So I really commend her on that, because that's a really great quality to have. And obviously to have that paired with such talent is special. A lot of times you have, once people make it big time, their attitudes change sometimes. So that's really cool to see, is just like how successful she's been, the talent that she has, and the fact that she's still able to stay that humble through it all is pretty spectacular. And yeah, I mean, she's definitely a force. You can feel when you're trying to box her out and you're trying to play defense against her that she's definitely a presence. So it'll be exciting to see what she's able to do in the league.
For sure. So really quick before we let you go, I know it's kind of on the spot, but is there anything you have going on that you want to let the people know, or just your social medias where everybody can follow you and let everybody know?
Yeah, sure. Well, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Mo Bertsch. It's not super exciting, I will say. I need to up my social media game for sure. That's definitely something I need to work on. But I don't have anything to plug. I don't have a whole lot going on the social media side. So if y'all want to toss me a follow, I wouldn't be mad about it. Hopefully, I'll be able to step up my game within the next year, and then it'll be something exciting to follow.
Without a doubt. Morgan, we can't wait to continue watching you this season. We appreciate you coming on.